We are going to speak about the wisdom of ancient Egypt, but before we start, we must address a paradox. The Greek philosopher Socrates famously said, "I know only that I know nothing." We often smile at this, thinking it is false modesty, but to say I know nothing with total honesty requires immense wisdom. In our vanity, we think we know everything. To realize you know nothing, you must first catch a glimpse of the sheer size of what there is to know. Today, we are going to glimpse that vastness. We are going to explore a subject that claims to explain the operating system of the entire universe in just 7 short sentences. We are talking about Hermes Trismegistus. Who was he? Historians debate his existence. To the Egyptians, he was Thoth, the god of wisdom, depicted with the head of an ibis, a bird known for its long beak that can pick a single seed from a pile of sand. This represents his ability to choose the truth amidst confusion. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, the messenger of the gods. Whether he was a man, a god, or a long lineage of priests, one thing is certain: by their works you shall know them. Great historical revolutions do not appear out of nowhere. A legacy that influenced Moses, Plato, the alchemists of the Renaissance, and modern quantum physics must have had a colossal source. For centuries, this knowledge was kept secret, hermetically sealed. Why? Because, as the tradition says, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. Knowledge is power, and power without a moral foundation is like a knife in the hands of a toddler. It is destructive. But today, the doors are open. Let us walk through them. Before we touch the 7 laws, we must understand how they survived. Imagine the Middle Ages. The Inquisition is burning people at the stake for heresy. If you talked about Egyptian magic or inner gods, you would be killed. So, the Hermetists, the guardians of this wisdom, created a disguise. They call themselves a LCHEMISTS. We have this cartoonish image of the alchemist, a wizard in a pointy hat trying to turn lead into gold in a laboratory. This image was likely created by the alchemists themselves to survive. Why? Because greed was acceptable. Trying to get rich didn't get you burned at the stake. Searching for pagan wisdom did not, so they hid their true purpose behind chemistry. The lead they wanted to transform was the lead of heavy ignorance and unconsciousness. The gold was the gold of spiritual wisdom. They were performing mental transmutation. This tradition resurfaced in 1908 in a mysterious book called the Kybalion. It contains the axioms of this ancient science. It is not a religion. It is a technology of the mind. To understand Hermeticism, we must understand the human need for meaning. Anthropologists recently found evidence of hominids, pre-humans, who built small piles of stones that had no utilitarian purpose. They weren't for hunting or shelter. They were crude altars. Even before we were fully sapiens, we were religiouses. The human being is the only animal that looks at a sunset and sees more than just fading light. We see beauty. We look at a tragedy and feel a need for justice. Where does this justice, beauty, and truths exist? You cannot find a justice molecule under a microscope. These are metaphysical realities. The Hermetic path describes the evolution of this perception. First stage, we see God out there, the sun, the mountain, the idol. We bow down to something external. Second stage, we begin to see the reflection. As above, so below. We realize that if there is justice in the universe, there is a seed of justice in me. If there is wisdom out there, there is a capacity for wisdom in here. Third stage, or initiation, the illusion of separation dissolves. With a drop of water realizes it is the ocean. In India, they call this the Sutratma, the single thread that runs through all the beads of a necklace. We are the beads. The divine is the thread. Hermeticism is the manual for reaching that third stage. Let's begin with the first law. The all is mind. The universe is mental. This is the hardest law to accept for a materialist, but it is the most logical. Plato said that nothing exists in the physical world without first existing in the world of ideas. Think about a simple chair. It didn't just appear. A carpenter thought of it first. The idea preceded the object. Now look at the universe. It is infinitely more complex than a chair. Could the universe have been created by random chaos? The physicist Fritjof Capra gives a brilliant analogy. If you take your computer and throw it down the stairs and it smashes into pieces, is there any chance at all, that the crash will rearrange the circuits to upgrade it to a better model? No. Chaos does not create complexity. Chaos creates mess. The fact that the universe is evolving from simple atoms to complex brains suggests it is following a blueprint. It is being thought. If the universe is mental, then your universe is mental. Medicine is finally catching up to this. We know that mental patterns create physical reality. A person who holds on to the mental pattern of resentment often develops autoimmune diseases or heart problems. The mind rots the body, or it heals it. We are constantly materializing our thoughts. If you want to know what your future looks like, look at what you are thinking today. You are the architect of the second law. As above, so below, as below, so above. This is the principle that allows us to learn from everything. There is a story about a philosopher observing a bricklayer. The bricklayer was a simple man, but he was a master of his craft. He knew exactly how much mortar to throw on the wall so it would stick. He knew the exact force, the exact angle. The philosopher tried to do it and failed. The mortar fell on the floor. The philosopher realized, I will never be as good a bricklayer as him, but I can learn the principle. He watched the focus, the rhythm, the consistency. He realized that the same laws that apply to building a wall apply to building a character, building a family, or building a nation. Intelligence is the art of relations. We live in a world of specialists. A technician knows everything about one tiny screw, but he doesn't know how that screw relates to the history of the machine or the economics of the factory. The Hermetist is a generalist. He sees a pattern in nature like the seasons changing and he applies it to his own psychology. I am in the winter of my life. I must rest so I can bloom in the spring. He stops fighting the cycle because he understands the correspondence. The third law: nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. Ancient Egypt taught that everything has an internal name. This wasn't a word you write on paper. It was a vibrational signature. If you could speed up the vibration of a rock, it would become liquid. Speed it up more, it becomes gas. More, it becomes energy. More, it becomes light. Spirit and matter are the same thing, just at different ends of the vibrational scale. Plato warned in his Republic that the state must be careful with the music it gives to the people. Why? Because music is pure vibration. If you constantly expose yourself to vibrations of chaos, aggression, and vulgarity, your own consciousness lowers its frequency to match. It is physics. Resonance. To evolve is to refine your taste. It is to voluntarily tune yourself to higher frequencies. Beauty, order, silence, wisdom. I.e. will combine the fourth and fifth laws because they work together. Polarity states that everything has poles. Opposites are identical in nature. Rhythm states that everything flows out and in. The pendulum swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. We all know the law of rhythm. My grandmother used to say, laugh too much today and you'll cry tomorrow. She didn't know Hermes, but she knew the law. High euphoria is often followed by deep depression. A passionate romance that begins with fireworks often ends in a violent breakup. Why? Because the pendulum swings. If you live your life chasing extreme highs, you are guaranteeing extreme lows. So how do we escape? The Hermetists teach the art of neutralization. Imagine a triangle. The pendulum swings at the wide base back and forth, pleasure and pain, love and hate. But if you climb the triangle, the swing gets shorter. If you reach the top of the apex, the point is still. This is the state of the sage. The sage loves, but without the disparate attachment that turns into hate. The sage enjoys pleasure, but without the addiction that turns into suffering. They have risen above the plane of the pendulum. They let the rhythm flow underneath them, while they remain stable. This is true freedom. The sixth law. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. There is no such thing as luck. Luck is just a name we give to a law we don't understand. If a man becomes rich, we say, lucky. We didn't see the 20 years of work, the discipline, the risk. If a man becomes sick, we say bad luck. We didn't see the years of bad food, suppressed anger, and lack of sleep. This law is empowering because it destroys the concept of victimhood. Epictetus, the Stoic slave, said, the end of blame is the beginning of progress. If you are unhappy with your life, stop complaining. Look at the causes you are generating. Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If you want a new life in the coming year, you cannot just make a toast and wish for good luck. You must engineer new causes. We are free to choose our actions, but we are prisoners of the consequences. Choose the cause wisely. The seventh law is the most subtle. Gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This creates creation. The masculine is the spark, the seed, the will. The feminine is the womb, the nurturing, the subconscious work. There is a bird called the cuckoo. It has a strange habit. It never builds its own nest. It finds the nest of another bird, kicks out the eggs, and lays its own egg there. The poor mother bird returns, sees an egg, and instinctively sits on it. She warms it, hatches it, and feeds the baby. She raises a monster that isn't hers. This is a metaphor for your mind. How many of your thoughts are actually yours? How many of your political opinions, your prejudices, your desires, are actually cuckoo eggs laid in your mind by the media, by society, or by other people? Someone drops a seed of anger. You accept it and feed it with your emotion. You nurture it for days. Finally, you give birth to an act of violence, and you think, I am angry. No, you just hatched someone else's egg. To apply the principle of gender is to reclaim your mind. It is to check every egg in your nest. Is this thought mine? Does this serve me? Did I create this, or was I programmed? True creativity comes when your own will fertilizes your own subconscious. That is the birth of the soul. We are living in a strange time. We are technologically advanced but ethically primitive. Jung said, "It is easier to go to Mars than to go into your own soul." We start from zero every generation. We learn how to build iPhones and rockets, but we don't learn how to build a human being. We have forgotten the blueprints. We live in a relativist society where everyone says, "That is your truth, this is my truth." Imagine if we build bridges like that. Gravity is relative. The bridge would collapse. There are universal laws for building stone, and there are universal laws for building humans. The Kybalion offers us these laws, but remember the final warning of Hermes: guard against mental miserliness. Knowledge is not a trophy to put on a shelf. It is a tool. Knowing the law of rhythm is useless if you keep getting drunk on drama. Knowing the law of mentalism is useless if you keep feeding negative thoughts. The ancient teaching is clear. Knowledge implies commitment. If you don't intend to change your life, it is better not to know. But if you are ready to take the wheel of your own evolution, these 7 keys are yours. Use them.